Can't believe I'm gonna talk about this. I never wanted to talk about this again. This is embarrassing.
I made a mistake. Please just look me in my face. Tell me everything's okay.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been such a long time since I filmed a video, but I'm back. So for this week's video, I decided to do another story time because I want all my story times to give you guys advice from mistakes that I did in my past, and I want you guys to learn from them. I did a lot of dumb shit when I was younger. Okay, this story time is extremely embarrassing, but I'm just gonna tell you guys. So my story begins back when I think it was my late freshman year and beginning of sophomore year. So I used to have this boyfriend. He was literally like my first boyfriend, like my first love, I guess you can say. We were young. We were literally like 15, 14 when we met, and I had been going out with this guy for like a year already probably. We were going out forever. The only bad thing about our relationship was that it was a long distance relationship. My long distance relationship boyfriend, we're gonna give him the nickname Richard. He lived, it wasn't even that far. I want to say like it's like an hour away from where I live. But you guys, like, this is why I feel so bad. Like, he was so sweet. He would collect his allowance every week just so every weekend he can come over here and visit me. Like, you can tell that this guy really liked me. And he would try to see me as often as he could, but sometimes he didn't have money and he would only come like twice a month. I don't know. I didn't see him as much as I wanted to. That's why, to me, long distance relationships suck. Like, I tried it once and it just wasn't for me. And then there was this one point where for some reason he couldn't come, and he told me like in advance, like, hey, you know what, I'm not gonna be able to see you for maybe like a month and a half. And my parents were super strict, so they would never take me over there. So if he couldn't come, that's it. I wasn't gonna see him. I was going to school, obviously. Guys would talk to me, but I was like, no, like I have a boyfriend, and they'd be like, no you don't. And I was like, yeah, it's just, he's not, nobody believed me, honestly, nobody believed me that I had a boyfriend. I wouldn't really post that I had a boyfriend like on my social media or nothing. So nobody believed me that I had a boyfriend. And I was like, yes, I have a boyfriend, he just doesn't live here. And then there was this one guy, let's nickname him Tony. And we talked and we flirted and whatever. And then eventually, like, he started liking me and he was like, let's go to lunch together. And I was like, okay, like, sure. And by that time, unfortunately, my long distance boyfriend Richard, it had been like 2 months and he hadn't come see me. And this entire time I was already talking to Tony. I was like, is he never gonna come? Like, I would text him, we would talk on the phone, but it wasn't enough. The day came where Tony decided to ask me out, and I was just like, shit. Like, in my head I was just like, dude, what about Richard? But I was like, whatever, he's never gonna find out, like, nobody needs to know. And I said yes to Tony. That was so fucked up, but I said yes. And honestly, I was like, nah, I don't care, like, they're never gonna find out about each other, like, it'll be my little secret. Like, I knew it was wrong, but I didn't care, and that's not okay. And Richard, it had probably been like 3 months. Me and Tony had like a month together already, and Richard still hadn't come to see me. So I was gonna break up with Richard and stay with Tony. And then guess what happened? Karma is such a bitch, I'm just letting you know now. After like 3.5 months of me waiting, Richard texted me and was like, babe, guess what? I finally got enough money to go see you for the weekend. And I was like, shit. In a way I was excited, but I was like, oh my god, what about Tony? Tony doesn't have to know that this weekend I'm gonna go hang out with Richard. Richard came that weekend, it was super sweet. But I had Tony. I was like, you know what? He's gonna leave on Sunday. It's gonna be perfect. Like, I don't care. And so Sunday came and I said my goodbyes and Richard left. And I was like, whew. Monday came and I went to school in the morning. Oh, you're not gonna believe what happened. Right before my lunchtime, Richard texted me and he said, babe, guess what? I didn't go back home. I stayed here. Oh, okay, like, cool. Like, okay, I'll see him after school. No! He didn't want to see me after school. He was waiting for me outside of my school so he could go to lunch with me on lunchtime. And Tony, he was gonna go to lunch with me. So I was like, fuck! Like, what do I do? And I ended up texting Tony like super last minute, like, hey, I'm sorry, babe, like I can't go to lunch with you. I'm gonna go with my friend. I made up some like stupid ass excuse, and he was like, oh, it's fine, babe, like I'll just see you tomorrow, or I'll see you after school. And I was like, okay, whatever. I told one of my friends who knew, I told her like, oh my god, guess what? Like Richard's here, like what do I do? And blah 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 blah. She was like, just go to lunch with him, like everything will be fine, just go to lunch, but like I'll go drop you off like somewhere far away, meet up with him there, and then go to lunch and then come back to class. And I was like, okay, that's fine. We went on to lunch or whatever, and then I was like, shit, I have to go back to class. And then he was trying to get me to ditch. He was like, no babe, like I want to be with you longer because I'm gonna leave tonight, like is there any way you can ditch your last classes and just come with me? And I was like, no, I can't ditch. I was like, I have a quiz, it's gonna affect my grade. Like I was a nerd in school. I was like, I have to go back. And then I texted my friend and I told her, hey girl, like this is what's going on, like should I ditch, what do I do? And she's like, just bring him to school, tell him to wait by the bathrooms. And I was like, okay, sure, whatever. So the bell rang to go back to class, and I went to class, my friend went to class, and Richard stayed in the bathrooms and he was waiting there. And then my friend, she went to go talk to the teacher. And oh my god, I totally forgot to mention, Tony was in my math class. And then I looked to the door. Guess who was standing there? Richard was standing there. My friend thought it would be a good idea to have Richard be in class with me. And she had told the teacher that he was a foreign exchange student and that she was stuck with him all day because she was showing him what it was like to go to school here. And I was like, fuck me, dude. Like Tony was in the class and now Richard was in the class with me, and I was literally just there. And I mean, Tony had no idea what was going on. He just saw the dude and he's like, okay, whatever. Like he didn't care. He kept doing his quiz or whatever. But then he saw that Richard comes, hugs me, and he sits right next to me. And he was just like, oh, like who's that? Like, and he's just staring at me, and I was just like, fuck. So neither of them knew about each other. So obviously Richard was gonna be all over me because he didn't know I had another boyfriend, and Tony was right there. And Richard kept hugging me, like he kept playing with my hair, he kept giving me kisses on my cheek, he kept holding my hand. It was so awkward for me. Like I was literally just like I'd play it off and be like, oh, like you're playing with my hair. Or like I'd be like, oh, like hold on, I'm like writing something. You know, like I was trying to play it off so bad, but oh, it was so embarrassing. And then this other girl, she's the one that fucked everything up. Like, but I mean, Tony already knew that something was going on. And then the girl comes over to my table and she puts me on blast. And she's like, oh my god, isn't this your boyfriend that doesn't live here? And I was just like, bitch, like, oh my god, if this wasn't like horrible enough, like the whole fucking class already knew that I was going out with Tony. And I was just like, Richard was super well mannered and he just introduced himself. Like he was like, hey, my name's Richard, I'm Yoatzi's boyfriend. And then she was just like, oh, like awesome, nice to meet you. Like this bitch, that was her plan to ruin me. I don't even know what bullshit she told him. I thought I was never gonna get caught. Like I was like, oh my god, like this is awesome, I have 2 boyfriends. And dude, I got caught. And the worst part of it was that Tony was extremely super fucking pissed, like he wanted to cut me open and then take out my organs. And the fucked up thing was he kept going out with me because he really liked me, but only for like a week, because then he left me for some other bitch. But I was like, you know what, whatever, if he wants to leave me, I totally deserve it because I still have Richard. In my head, that's what I was thinking. Me and Richard were happy for like another month after that because he never found out and we kept going out. But I want to say like a month and a half after, he came to visit me and his little brother came with us. The little kid was just like, ha ha ha, like my brother has another girlfriend. And I was just like, wait, what? And he was just like, oh no, ignore him. Like, you know, little kids, they say like the dumbest things. And I was just like, oh really? Like, what is your little brother talking about? Like, it sounds super specific. And he was just like, no babe, like don't worry about it. Don't worry, like he's lying. And stupid me, I believed it. And then like, I want to say a week and a half after that, he dumped me. I don't even remember for what, but he left me. I was fucking devastated because I honestly really did like Richard. I was so heartbroken. Like I was so depressed for a while. Like I was like, no, like I was so sad, but I deserved it, honestly. And I know he left me for that bitch because then later he posted on his social media pictures with her and I was just like, like at the end, I ended up with none. Moral of the story, don't cheat because karma will come back and bite you in the ass. when you least expect it. And you're gonna end up fucking like me without either of them. If you've never cheated, I'm so proud of you. And if you have, cut your shit because it's still time to change and you don't have to cheat on people. If you love someone, stick to that one person. And karma does exist. Like, I have proof. I'm just showing you my proof. It exists. And if you're not happy with someone, leave him. So that is it for my very intense story time that I never wanted to tell anyone, but I decided to share it with you guys. But I hope you guys liked the story time, so please give my video a big thumbs up. Leave any comments below telling me if you like the story. Leave any video suggestions down below. And once again, thank you for watching. Bye guys. I'm collecting myself because that was very intense. I'm drained after this video. Drained.